my graph, I can screw this. Meaning, make an XY chart and graph it. I'm not going to give you the numbers to use. I want you to figure it out. Pick enough points that you understand where it starts and the shape of it. I'll walk around and make sure you're doing it right. Some numbers may work, some numbers may not. Now discussion. Pick some points and plot them. Got a calculator? Use it. Or pick numbers that work. Use your brain. What did you do? Oh, now graph it. You got coins. Those are coordinates. It's interesting to see how your brains work. I see typical errors. I see wonderful thoughts. Good abstract thinking. People thinking 2 and 3 steps ahead. I get all that from looking at your paper. That's why I get paid the big bucks.
Yeah. That's what I want to do.
No, I think you get what you paid for then. Alright, so I'm going to make a bigger XY chart just to kind of show you what's going on here. Square root of 0 is 0. So here's what? No. So my first point is 0, 0. And I guess we should actually look and show you what happens if you put a negative in. Okay, so no negatives work if the whole value under the radical is negative. Okay? So whatever makes the value underneath the radical 0 and positive, those are the values you need to look at. So I'm giving you a hint. It's what's under the radical needs to be greater than or equal to 0. Okay? So this doesn't work. So negative values are not going to be a part of this graph. Okay? So 0, 0 is the first one. Alright, what about 1?
1.
Yeah, you guys are so smart.
You're such a nice one.
I don't want to put 2 in, but you can.
Oh. Don't you need
What
a-
is that?
Don't you need a plus or minus one because it takes square roots?
I put 4. I did 4 and 9 and 16.
When you do that, we're not going to do the plus minus yet.
Oh.
Okay. So, we're talking about extraneous solutions in that case, so we're not going to. Okay. So, what you're saying is, anyway, we'll get to that. All right. I can pick 2, and I use my calculator, and I get a value, and then you have to guess where that's at on your graph. But instead, I'm going to go ahead and use 4. The square root of 4 is 2. So 2, 3, 4. And look what happens. It's not a straight line. So it starts here. It doesn't start less than 0. Yep, that is exactly where it starts. And this is a colored in dot because it does equal 0. It goes up and to the right and does not turn horizontal. It does keep increasing, but it increases ever so slowly.
That's not what I got.
That is the graph of the square root of x. Yes, if you do 2, what do you get for the square root of 2? 1.4, so at 2 you're at 1.4, which is right there. Okay, totally fine to do that. Alright, but I'm trying to give you a heads up. This is your basic graph that you will be comparing all other graphs to. Understand? So just like you did the absolute value of x, you had to compare all those to the absolute value, and then y equals x squared, you had to compare all the parabolic graphs to y equals x squared. Same thing with this. This is the graph you're going to be using to compare all your other graphs. Got it?
Do we have to draw our graph?
On each graph it says compare. Now I just want to show you something. What's the domain value of this? Domain is all the x values that make this real, make this true, make it work. What are the x values that work?
Greater than 0.
X is greater than or equal to 0. Not just greater than, it's also equal. What's the range?
Greater than 0.
Greater than or equal
Y is greater than or equal to 0. Is the graph ever going to get way up here?
to 0. Probably.
Yeah. It's going to take a long, long time on the x-axis over here before it gets there. What if x is 100? Root of 100 is 10. You got to go out 100 spots before you get up to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That high. This keeps increasing all the way up 100 points, and it finally gets to 10.
Can you do it? Do that.
No.
Oh.
We have all of this too.
Oh. He's the same over there.
Example 1. Y equals 5 times the square root of x. I want you to graph it, and I want the comparison graph on there as well. And I want you to write the domain and the range.
Oh, hey, I know why mine didn't work, because I grabbed 416 instead of 16.4.
I was wondering why you had the x and the y's turned around.
It's kind of like a ray, because it's got a point that is
Ray is a straight line.
still.
Okay? What happened? do you notice?
Or steeper.
Why is it steeper? Because you're multiplying by a number bigger than 1. What do you think is going to happen when you multiply by a number less than between 0 and 1?
Oh boy.
It'll increase very slowly. Okay? Alright. I'm just kind of curious. Has anybody figured out yet? What if this is negative?
Goes
There
down.
you go.
Yeah. I want a little better description. That's true.
Goes
down.
That's it. Mirror image of this with the x-axis. Okay. All right. Next one. Example 2. See how smart you guys are. See if you can do this one. Y equals the square root of x minus 3. The minus 3 is under the radical. Graph it. You dare. I'll put the comparing it to. Yes. Yes. Domain range. So this one, your domain is the same as what it was on the main one. Same thing here, except what's your domain? Yeah. X is greater than or equal to 3. Range?
Y is greater than or equal to
Y is greater than or equal to
0.
0. Okay, did you have a question?
Yeah, I don't know how you got the Y value.
I plugged 3 in for x. 3 minus 3 is 0. Square root of 0 is 0. 4 minus 3 is 1. Square root of 1 is 1. 7 minus 3 is 4. The square root of 4 is 2. 12 minus 3 is 9. The square root of 9 is 3. Yes. I'm just trying to make this as easy to do up here. Yeah.
How do you get domain range?
Domain is all the x values that will work. None of the negative values on the main ones. Nothing less than 3 will work. 2.9 will give me a negative value in here, so it won't work. So what I'm saying is, what does work? When I ask you for the domain, what x values work? Well, it starts at 3, and then goes for infinity that way. So the only way to express that is to say greater than or equal to 3. Okay? Same thing with the y. It starts at 0 and goes up. Alright? Example 3. Okay, so good. How about this one? Y equals the square root of x, and then minus 3 on the outside of the radical. And I'll draw the graph. Of the original. We do. Something here still waiting. Ben,
So would the range be y greater than or equal to negative?
the range is y is greater than or equal to negative 3. Now, can you draw any conclusions from these comparisons? Compare these with the original. What can you tell me by looking at their graphs? Draw any conclusions? Yes.
The parallel?
Well, parallel would be straight lines, but I see what you're saying. Yes, they are. There's no coefficient in the front here to make it skinnier or thinner or thicker. Okay, which that's something you need to know. What else? Which is what's bringing me to example 4. But can anybody think of anything? Maybe too soon. Let's look at example 4. Y equals A times the square root of x minus h plus k on the outside.
I have the answer.
Go ahead.
When if it's outside of the radical, it'll have a negative y value, but if it's inside the radical, it'll have a positive y value.
Depends on where you're talking. You're saying, what you're saying is on the right track, you're not saying it properly. Talking really about where the vertex is, where it starts. Comparing those tells you where it starts. H, K is where it starts. First of all, this can't be negative, can it? So x must be H. meaning the opposite of this. This is negative h. X must be positive h to make this happen. Over here, what x have to be to start? And where did it start? Okay. What x have to be? 0. Where did it start? Start x. The x was 0. Now I'm just talking about the x's. What about the y's? It's on the outside. Now this is kind of what you were saying. Okay. This is a coordinate. The vertex is HK. Remember I told you, whenever you have grouping symbols around something and we're talking about formulas, it's usually going to be the opposite of what's inside and remains the value on the outside. So when this value is the beginning, x, what's left over, k, is the y value in your vertex. What makes this go away? Y equals that value. That's kind of what Cameron was saying. So HK is going to be where you're starting on all of these formulas, or all these equations. Thank you. All right, and A gives you the depth, whether it's going to grow quickly or slowly. All right, which we've already figured that out. So here's example 5. That was just for your benefit there. So let's see if you figure this out. Y equals 4 times the radical x plus 2 and minus 4 on the outside. Okay, where's it going to start?
2 minus.
No.
Negative 2 minus 4.
Negative 2, negative 4. Now, what you have to do is you still have to do an XY chart because the 4 is going to make it really thick. Okay? So you just can't go, negative 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 4, and say, well, it's just going to be like the original graph. But it's not going to be like the original graph. We've got to increase it 4 times. It's going to go up like this.
Can we just plug in stuff?
So plug in a couple points. You know what the form of this looks like. And do that. So if I plug in, well, yeah, 2. 2 plus 2. All right, so let's make a quick XY chart. 2 plus 2 will give me 4. The square root of 4 is? 2. 2. 2 times 4 is? 8 minus 4 is? 4. So at 2, 4. I was almost right on. Okay? So there's 2, 4. Let's do one more to make it happen, all right? Let's make this a 9. So 7 plus 2, 7. If x is 7, that would be a 9. The square root of 9 is?
3
times 4?
12, 8.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 5, 6, 7, 8. Up there. Okay? So you kind of know what it is now. When you get to algebra 2, you won't put as many points in. You'll really get a feel for what it's going to be like. But it's good to actually plug some points in and make your graph look pretty accurate. All right, let's see if we can do another one. Example 6 is y equals negative 3 halves times the square root of x minus 1 minus 5 on the outside. Oh, wait a minute. What's everybody? What's the domain? What's the domain on example 5?
X is greater than or equal to -2.
X is greater than or equal to -2. What's the range? What's the range? What makes the y values work? What y values work? Including -4. So you say y. Okay, so here it is in case you guys missed it. X is greater than or equal to -2. And your range is y. Y is greater than or equal to, she said, -4. Okay? Everybody do this one. I want a couple points. I want at least 2 points, not including your vertex. Is that fair enough? Otherwise, you can give me 5 or 6 points. Which one do you want?
2.
Vertex plus 2 more points, please. All right? Those of you who already started your homework, sorry.
Well, that's what I did.
Okay. Where's the vertex, first of all?
1, 5, 1, negative 5.
Okay. Two more points. All right, pick numbers that work. Go ahead and use calculator all day long. Questions about this example? Yes?
How'd you get negative 11 for the y's and 5
Okay, so I picked 5 for x because I knew I'm taking 1 away, that'll give you a 4, and I can take the square root of 4 in my head. 2, and 2, this 2 will divide with that 2, making 1, times the negative 3, that's negative 3. Negative 3 minus 5 is negative 8. I chose 17 because 17 minus 1 is 16, square root of 16 is 4. The 2 divides into the 4, leaving 2 left over. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Negative 6 minus 5 is negative 11. So I'm picking specific numbers. I mean, you can use your calculators if you want. I'm just picking numbers that will make it work. Okay? Just try. My point is, what I said at the beginning is, the value under the radical, what makes that 0? Greater than or equal to 0, that's where you're starting. So that's 1. And then what value under the radical can you easily take the square root of? I can easily take the square root of 4. So what makes this 4? Well, if that's a 5, I'll get a 4. Well, when I take the square root of 9, I could have put 10 in. 10 minus 1 is 9. But then but I also looked a couple steps ahead. The square root of 9 is 3. It doesn't cancel with that 2. Which I'll get a decimal. Could have done it. But I knew, I just looked that many steps ahead. That's all right. But that's what you got to think of. Otherwise, you got to use your calculator for all that. All right, so your assignment. Should you choose to do it and learn something, become brilliant people.
You're welcome.
Page 714, 17 to 39 all. Mixed review, the most important part of your assignment even. Yes.